Hello, everyone. This is Vern's talk show on television here, and I got a guest here, Justin Herman from the Herman Funeral Home, and he's going to give you a lot of inputs or outputs or whatever of the funeral home, and I think we'll start. How come you got into a funeral business? Being a funeral director?
Sure, Vern. Interesting question, because I'm first generation. I'm a first generation funeral director, which is kind of rare sometimes in the funeral business. Most people are used to seeing where families hand the business down to other family members, although we're getting more and more where we have first generation funeral directors. But I was born and raised in Wisconsin Rapids. My parents, Ryan and Elaine Herman, are from Wisconsin Rapids too. Mom's side is from the Siegel area.
Oh yeah, I heard
that's the Knuth relation. And then Dad's side, the Herman family, is from the Rudolph area. And they've both been in the area for multiple generations. But career-wise, when I graduated from Lincoln High School, I looked at a couple different things. One was teaching. Did a little student teaching over at Grove School and found out that teaching really was not my calling. Was also interested in the ministry. Did a little exploring there. While at the same time I started to explore funeral service. And funeral service just really was where I was being called.
Oh, sure.
And I've kind of made that my ministry. So in a way you're able to bring in aspects of how you be serving people as a minister into how you're serving people in funeral service, and of course, you work hand in hand with the area clergy too.
Sure.
You know,
oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah. Oh yeah. Now, is there anything else that's you want to talk about through your?
Sure. Well, I can give a little background, kind of how I went to mortuary school at WRCM College of Mortuary Science in Wheeling, Illinois. Also, I'm a graduate of UWSP, Mid-State Technical College, took classes there as well to help in my preparations. Came back home here after mortuary school and did my apprenticeship and worked for the Higgins Funeral Home for about 5 years.
That,
was over there with Jim and Jay.
Yep.
They also had an ambulance service, so I worked there as an EMT too. But things worked out. They needed to go in a different direction because of the ambulance service, and Gary Johnson ended up taking that over. And Irv Allard and Mike Jennings had a position open at Taylor. So I kind of went from one to the other, and 5 years ago, I bought out the Taylor Funeral Home.
Okay.
Then we did the name change to Herman Taylor to let everybody know who has the funeral home now.
Oh, sure.
And it's been a real blessing, been going very well.
Yeah. Well, I see that you're interested in the funeral home, and you started out that way, and right after you got out of school, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. I started my apprenticeship. I was 18 years old.
Well, you know what you wanted.
Yeah. Knew what I wanted. Knew I wanted to be here. Knew I wanted to continue to stick around here and serve family and friends and neighbors. People you've developed lifetimes of relationships with, and it means a lot to be able to stay here. It was a kind of a gut-wrenching decision. Do you make the investment? You know, do you purchase a business within the community and dive in with both feet? But Roxanne and I decided to do it, and been very happy. It's been working very well.
Well, she's a big help to you too. You know.
She is. Yep.
And rest of them are to help out too. Well, I do once in a while.
Yep. You're a big help as one of our door swingers.
And I enjoy
and
it.
helping in other ways too.
I enjoy it. I meet a lot of people. You know.
That's one of the nice things about this type of work. Is the number of people you're able to meet and hopefully have a positive impact on them in a very, very difficult time.
Yeah. Well, I helped out funeral homes years ago, you know, many, many years ago, and I've been around them a long time, and I'm still around them. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it very much. I like the ones I've worked with, and all the ones that's there. I mean, you know, get along good. That's good.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if your viewers know. I'm sure they know by now that Roxanne's a licensed funeral director.
Yeah, she is.
She was registered nurse by background. When we bought the funeral home, having a 24/7 business wasn't working with the nurse's schedule. So she decided to return to school and become a licensed funeral director.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been working out very well. And then, as you know, we have 2 apprentices,
Yeah, I
Marcus
know.
and Martin,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and been going along good.
Well, that's good to know, you know. I think people, they would like to know about all this, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're doing. And
Yeah. And I think it's important for people to know, because as you know, the funeral home started in 1953.
yeah,
Everett Taylor started the funeral home over on the west side of town by
on
IGA.
the west side, yeah.
And we continued there until 2003. 2003 is when I actually came on with Irvin Mike. In 2004, we moved to the new location
Mhm.
on Highway 54 in Chestnut. But there's a long tradition there
Oh,
of
yeah.
serving the community.
Oh, sure.
And of course, we wanted to honor that tradition. That's why we're called Herman Taylor Funeral Home and not just Herman Funeral Home. The name recognition and honoring that tradition of years of service through.
Did you have a choice between Higgins and Taylor? The funeral home, I mean, that you could stay there or go to Taylor?
Well, really what happened with my position over at Higgins, they historically did less funerals than the other funeral homes in town.
Oh, yeah.
So they really relied on the ambulance service as a
Right.
major source of their revenue.
Right.
And things were changing in the ambulance world where the state passed a single paramedic rule, which said that a service could upgrade to a paramedic level service
Mm-hmm.
with only 1 paramedic on an ambulance, whereas you used to need 2.
Oh, yeah.
So just a little bit difference of opinion. Jim and Jay really wanted me to go to paramedic school and take over the ambulance side of things, but my passion, my calling, if you will, was funeral service. And I didn't want to be stuck in an ambulance all the time, so it was kind of a mutual parting of ways. And it really worked out for the best. Like I said,
Yeah.
Gary's runs a nice business there with United, and I ended up being able to take over the Taylor Funeral Home, and it's been going well.
Well, that's something you wanted, and you got it, you know. That's all right.
Yep.
You go what you like to do best, you know, instead of
Right.
doing something you don't care for,
Right.
you know. And like the ambulance service, well, that can be pretty tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the wintertime, you know, if there's an accident or that and they get thrown in the ditch, you know, with a lot of snow, to bring them up out of there, it's pretty
Right.
hard.
Right. And I don't know if a lot of people know, but ambulance services got their start with funeral homes.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a lot of people around yet, I don't think, that know that. But it was the funeral homes that had the cars and the cots
Oh, sure, yeah.
that somebody who wasn't able to
Oh, yeah.
walk, you could transport them. So they would take the bars off the side, the decorative bars off the side of the hearse and put a
Yeah.
light on top, and there was your ambulance.
Yep.
You know, it was more of a quick way to get somebody from
Oh,
home to the
sure.
hospital.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But as that's really evolved, yeah, most of us wouldn't be equipped or interested in becoming equipped to handle
Yeah.
that.
Well, you know, Justin and I go back a long ways with this funeral, and I can remember where the funeral director had their own hearses,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all own pallbearer car,
Yep.
and of course you don't have that anymore.
No, we continue to have we have a couple pallbearer cars, or a couple
Right.
vans that we
Yeah.
use as pallbearer cars, and a lead clergy car that we supplement with as well. But no, our hearses, we use Kirsten's funeral coach service,
Right.
and they service other funeral homes in the area as well. Yeah, but with just 2 funeral coaches, they're able to service us and about 3 others.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really kind of amazing how things have changed or
it's-
progressed over the years.
It
But
really changed a lot now.
Yeah.
I mean, since I've been with you over there, I think I've been with you, been there 5 years, and I can really see the change
yeah,
of this.
yeah,
I mean, you know, there's more cremations.
there are.
I think there are quite a few.
There are. Yeah,
And well, you know, you don't need a hearse for a cremation,
right,
you know.
right.
And but traditional funerals are, you know, what you really need. You know.
Yeah, families, for whatever reason, more families are choosing cremation. A lot of families will still have a viewing prior to the cremation.
Oh, yeah.
In which case we need to have a hearse to transport the body in the casket. They can rent the casket, have a full traditional service, and then cremation. More and more families are choosing to go with cremation right away and then the memorial service.
Sure.
And you're right, then you don't need things like the funeral coach necessarily. Always an option for families if they'd want to.
Oh, sure.
But we try to alleviate that expense or burden when transporting her, not to have to lease that funeral coach. Yeah, funerals are changing in a lot of different ways. It's not not just the cremation trend.
They really change. I mean, they cut down the visitation hours, and sometimes you just have it at church,
Yep.
not the funeral home.
Right.
And some of them, they have it all at the funeral home, not at church, or whatever. Which way do you want to go?
Right.
That's the way you go, I guess.
Right. Yeah, and whatever the reason is, sometimes it's just more, maybe they're expecting a smaller group. Maybe they like the
Right.
closer, more intimate setting of the funeral home to have everything in one place. At our funeral home now, as you know, we've begun having lunches at the funeral home.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That we have seating for 75 people, roughly. In what used to be our big casket selection area, we've downsized that and made some changes, did a little
sure.
remodeling and things to
yeah.
make it more
Sure.
conducive for a lunchroom. And that's really worked out well. We've seen a real uptick in that. And we work with, we don't have a kitchen, of course, but rather it's allowing families to use that space, partner with a caterer or maybe the IGA.
Right.
Sometimes families bring in their own food.
Right.
Sometimes families aren't able to afford catering
you're right.
or deli food, and they want to make a big roast or a barbecue and bring that in.
Well, I suppose it gets pretty costly too,
It does.
Well, the people, they know how much they can spend, and
Right.
that's
Right.
about the size of it,
Yeah. Because we usually with funerals, it's not just our expense from a funeral home, but there's a lot of other things that we're paying for
Right.
on people's behalf, a lot of other parts that are involved.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time you add up flowers and obituary costs and
Yeah.
And
Well,
clergy stipends and cemetery expenses and lunches, there's a lot to it.
yeah, there is a lot to it.
Yeah. A lot of decisions to be made, and
You get right down to business. I mean, we could really talk about it, but it's going to take so long that.
yeah.
And it's.
Well, as you know, Vern, how long do people usually spend planning a wedding? Right?
About a year and a half.
Many months, or maybe several years they spend to plan a wedding.
Some of them do.
To put all those pieces together.
Yeah.
When a family calls us in time of need, maybe we do the same. We do about the same kind of work.
Oh, sure.
And we're guiding families through decisions. And we're working in a 4-day time window.
Yep.
So there's a lot to that.
Yeah. Well, I notice a lot of people, they think, that's, they think, geez, what am I getting into? I mean, it's, they don't think really ahead, I guess. Some of them do and some of them don't, Think, well, funeral service is a funeral service, whatever, but
Right.
there's a lot that goes with it.
There are a lot of different.
A lot of
There's
things.
some 115.
A lot of
When I
ways to
added
go.
them up, 115 decisions
Yeah.
that families are making with us in that 2 or 2.5 hour arrangement conference.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to go about this.
There are.
I mean, I found this out a long time ago too. I thought, holy man, funeral business, you really gotta like it. To do this kind of work.
Right.
Everybody can't do that.
No, that's true.
No, I don't think so.
But with all the decisions that need to be made, Vern, what we're trying to do a lot of times is encourage families. The best thing a family can do is at least have the conversation at home. If they can have the conversation with not only their spouse, maybe their children, maybe their grandchildren, about what their wishes are when it comes time that they pass away, because all of us are going to pass away.
Yeah.
We don't have a choice in that matter. So how would they see their end-of-life event?
Right.
Unfolding, and that really, we see a big difference if just that conversation has been had.
Yeah.
families come in with a little bit of knowledge versus sometimes people, let's face it, it's the last thing you or I probably want to talk about
Yeah.
is our own funerals, right?
Yeah.
So they're silent on it. And then families are left struggling with some of the more basic decisions that have to be made,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and really don't know which way to go
Yeah.
or which way they think their loved one would want them to go.
Right.
So we can, if we
yeah.
can have people have that conversation,
Oh, sure.
even at home, better yet, come in the funeral home so we can take some notes.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah. There's a lot of people, quite a few people, I should say, that they really don't put their first priority on the funeral home.
well, no,
No.
you don't want to think about that. I mean, that's one of those
No,
things,
no,
you know.
no. Yeah, I mean, it's when a person, passes on, it's tough.
It is. It's
Very tough.
Very,
I'll
very
tell you.
tough.
Like I say, I've been around so many of them. I mean, and boy, it's people, they take it different ways,
Mhm.
and that I've seen it all. I tell you, every bit of it. I think, I worked with funeral directors years ago, at Kronbrard, Donbrard, and
Sure.
and they was way before your time,
Yep.
and they was a good bunch of people, and they helped out, and of course you still do help a lot of people out.
Mm-hmm.
They come for visitations or whatever, if they can't too awkward or that, we help them, and that's the way it should be done,
Yep.
and yeah, and well, now so there's stuff I could bring up, but I don't think I better. Like I say, I hung around funeral homes a good many years. Now, there's been a lot of changes now, hasn't there?
Yep. There have been quite a few changes.
Because I kind of, well, like I come over by you quite a bit, and I, it isn't that I come and spy or anything, but it just, for my own benefit,
Mm-hmm.
I put things together a little bit, and they don't kind of jibe too good. I mean, from years ago, funeral directors did different
Mm-hmm.
than what you do now. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong or anything, it isn't, but
Yeah,
times change.
Times change, and
Right.
times change in a lot of things, Vern. And for some families, it's still, they want the funeral steeped in tradition.
Mm-hmm.
They see the value of the night visitation, the traditions of the service at church.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they value. Other families want more of a life-centric
Mm-hmm.
funeral, if you will. So
Sure.
maybe we're having you come in and play polka music. Maybe we're making Packer tickets for the Packer fan. Maybe we're having fireworks outside the funeral home.
See, years ago, they never had that.
No,
No.
no.
You said anything like that, but it was kind of a dirty word or something,
Mhm.
People, they never went for that.
No. But what we're trying to, we have a new program called Life Celebration.
Oh, sure.
And people see with our logo now, a lot of times we're using a slogan that calls us a life celebration home.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't want to get that confused with it's not about putting on party hats,
Right. Right.
and celebrating the fact that somebody's gone. We don't want that people to have that impression. What it's about is celebrating the fact that somebody has lived, in the ways that person has impacted other people.
Mm-hmm.
So we really, through Life Celebration, even in the arrangement conference, we're asking more open-ended questions.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Trying to get to the core of what really made up
Mm-hmm.
the person
Oh, sure.
and their different connections. Trying to bring out those memories to be shared. Really trying to have the family take us down the path of somebody's life.
Mm-hmm.
From reflections on when somebody was little to through their school years,
Oh, sure.
adulthood as they're raising their kids,
Yeah.
through, kids are out of the house and all of a sudden they're grandparents.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'll ask people, take me back to a moment walking in Grandma's house.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see? What do you hear?
Mm-hmm.
What do you smell? For me, visiting Grandma's house, it was always a jar full of cookies.
Yeah.
And homemade fudge.
Home cooking.
And home cooking. And the smells of home cooking, which you don't get a lot anymore.
You better believe it. But,
And a certain music that she'd have playing lightly on the radio. Or card games that we would participate in together.
Yeah, I go back a long ways with that.
Hand and foot canasta or whatever.
Sure.
Or dominoes and
Sure.
and all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then we try to take all those things and somehow,
Mm-hmm.
even in a small way, incorporate those into the
Sure. Mm-hmm.
the funeral experience, if you will. Now, that's not to say we still try to encourage people to be steeped in their religious background
Right.
too.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, sometimes going through the process of a funeral, of a life celebration, sometimes it helps connect people back to their church,
Yeah, it does.
back to their faith traditions.
Yeah.
But our hope and our goal is that maybe it connects their mind back to their heart
Mm-hmm.
and helps put them on a journey to healing.
Sure. Yeah.
We can't make the experience of a loved one
Mm-hmm. Right.
dying a pleasant experience.
Right.
But if we
Yeah.
can make a difficult time a little bit easier, then we've really accomplished our goal.
Well, what I see over there at your place, sir, you really try really hard to help people out.
Mm-hmm.
Which should be. I mean, because a lot of them, they take it a lot harder than other ones do, and you can't blame them for that.
Yeah.
I mean, they spend with you a long time.
Yeah.
Now, like with me, I'm the last one
Mm-hmm.
of the family. And there for a while, I didn't think I was going to make it either, but I did, and I'm still working yet.
Yep.
I mean, it's nice to get out and talk to people, because what you're thinking is all gone. I mean, the worst part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know how that goes, but like coming there with you there, I learned quite a bit, from years ago until now.
Yep.
I mean, oh God, I see a lot of difference. I mean,
Sure.
but this is the easy way.
Mm-hmm.
And is there anything more that you want to talk about the funeral home, or?
I would touch a little bit upon, of course, we serve people of all faiths, Catholic, Protestant,
Right.
more humanistic funerals. We have some of those too, people who aren't necessarily connected to a faith tradition. We've done Buddhist funerals here in town. I know there's not a big Buddhist population, but we've done Buddhist funerals, all kinds of funerals. Where we are able to accommodate
Oh, sure.
anybody, no matter what their background is, and we're open to everybody. We're here to help,
Oh, yeah.
and doesn't matter if we've helped you before
Yeah.
or not. Our door is always open. People are always welcome in for a cup of coffee, like
Yeah.
like to stop by for
Oh,
coffee.
Sure. Yeah.
I would encourage people, like I said before, to talk about how they see
Mm-hmm.
their end-of-life experience.
Yeah. Right.
With things changing so much, it makes it a little bit harder on families if they're trying to determine a direction
Well, sure.
without that guidance.
Yeah.
Wind back 30 years ago,
Mm-hmm. Sure.
and if somebody hadn't talked about it, you could almost rest assured that that person's wish would be for a traditional funeral,
Oh, yeah.
night visitation, service the next day, likely at their church,
Mm-hmm.
traditional burial, at the cemetery where most of their family was buried. But that's not always the case now. There's so many different options.
Yeah, there
You know?
is a lot more. Yeah.
With cremation, there's some people take the cremated remains home and keep them at home in a revered place. Some people will do scattering. families are more spread out. So
Yeah.
maybe it's not a person's wish to be interred at a cemetery because they don't know if their family will be back in the area.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
You know,
Got a lot of them there from out of town.
right? For a long time,
You know,
families here, generation after generation, worked at the mill.
Yeah.
That's how my family was.
Well, yeah.
And then I got the idea to go into funeral service. But the mills kept people here, and the mills kept people around. And,
Oh, yeah.
and now we're getting a little bit more spread out than
Yeah.
what we used to be. So.
Yeah, it isn't as good like it was years ago. I mean, because I can remember Rapids here was really a booming town, really.
Mhm.
I mean, they had a lot of work, what I'm saying, you know, and people, they was busy with their jobs, and they seemed they got along good and everything, you know, but it just seemed like one part is missing or whatever. I mean, you know, with this job, you know. Of course, I can understand they got, you know, more equipment that they can do with,
Mhm.
cuts down maybe 4 or 5 guys,
Mhm.
you know, so that's about,
Well, we're definitely a town in transition. You know, there's no doubt about that. As are many manufacturing-based communities. Time changes, and like you said, technology changes, and
oh, yeah,
so we got to be open to some more different things.
yeah,
If a family would want to come in and talk to us about their funeral, we would start a file for them. That's what we call pre-planning.
oh, sure,
You don't have to prepay to pre-plan. Somebody can come in, express their wishes to us. We'll start a file, have all that information on file, and they can let their family know when the time does come, just to call us, and we'll have that record.
oh, yeah,
More and more people are deciding to prepay, though. That's always an option.
sure,
At our funeral home, we do, at least for our services, when we set up a funeral trust, if we do it in the right way,
sure,
we guarantee our expenses, and so people are able to pay at today's dollars, you know, and have that trusted. Like you have a funeral trust at the bank and that, and it's the money's there and protected
great,
in case you would ever need help with a nursing home or anything like that, through the program they call Title 19 Medical
oh,
Assistance.
sure,
That the state can't
right,
go after those funds. It's always there for
right,
the use
nobody
of
can
your
touch it,
funeral. Nobody can touch it. And another thing too, a lot of people don't know is it's transferable. If somebody were to decide to move,
sure,
you know, we just talked about being a more mobile society and everything, and we've had people ask us, well, what if I set this funeral trust up, Justin, and I move over by the kids in the Twin Cities? Well, certainly we could arrange for you to get back here and still serve you. But if it were something where you'd want your funeral in the Twin Cities, that funeral trust is portable.
well,
The bank
that's good to know.
it is. The bank
You
or the
know.
company pays the funeral home that provides the services.
Probably some of the people, they probably don't know this.
Right.
I mean, it's a good thing you come out with
Right.
it, you know?
Well, we try to, even when we set up trusts, we let everybody know that
Sure,
that those trusts are portable, because in some states they're not. Some states, you know, it's not a 100% trusted environment where the trust is only good at that particular home. But
oh, yeah. Well, you can take that trust pin anywhere you want, can't you?
you sure can. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you can take it overseas, but I don't know about that.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, it's always there. So I mean, if you were to have a death overseas, usually you have a funeral home here to get you back. You know, have you repatriatized and to come back into the country. So it's more. I wouldn't say it's so much overseas, but more, you know, like I said, if you move out of town to be closer to kids or whatever, and or have a change of heart.
Oh, sure.
Where you want things, those funds are portable. So,
Yeah. Is there any other that you want to talk about, funerals, or?
what questions would you have, Vern? What do you think? What do you think your viewers would want to know about the funeral home?
Well,
Is there anything you can see that we haven't?
I get a lot of, you know, talk that, you're good with what you do, you know, you're friendly to people, and that's a nice way to go. You know, you treat them good.
Yeah.
And I know well, I'm not going to get into that, but it's, I know I'm satisfied with you over there, very satisfied.
Thank
we
you.
are.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of other people are too, because I talked to a lot of people, and I mentioned your name and that.
Well.
Oh yeah, we know him, yeah. And some of them, they got their funeral trust with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know.
What really means a lot to us, Vern, we've grown every year since having the funeral home.
Oh yeah.
And it means a lot that people would, at one of the most difficult times in their life, pick up the phone and call us.
Sure.
And trust us with what we're doing. So we want it to be absolutely right for people.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And we put a lot of time and effort into making sure that happens.
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, see, years ago, you know, I probably would have more questions, but the times has changed with funeral business.
Right.
I mean, I can see it, you know, and well, come out that it's more short, the funeral is. I mean, you know, and I think, you know, this, you've been in what, business for 5 years or so, and I think you can see the difference already.
Yeah, and I've been a funeral director for about 20 years now. So I mean, I can, over that 20-year time span, seen a lot of different changes.
Yeah, it ain't that we changed, but it's a lot of other ones that's changed a lot.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
Some of it's society,
right.
you know, that
right.
people's time is more stressed, it seems like today, and how spread out people are again.
Oh, sure.
But I'd encourage everybody, you know, in the traditional funeral versus the cremation,
Right.
that doesn't matter. Whatever your wishes are
Right.
is what they are, and we're here to serve no matter what. But I encourage everybody to, when the time comes for a funeral in the family, to take time to recognize and in fact celebrate the life that person lived.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know, I know it seems like things are getting shorter and shorter, you know, but I think sometimes we're limiting what that experience could be.
Oh, sure.
You know, if you have everything in one day, just at our place or over at the church, it's harder and harder for people to get off of work.
Yeah, I seem to notice that myself.
Yeah, we're writing so many permission slips or excuse slips, almost like you'd have to take to school, you know, when you're a kid, to prove that somebody was at a funeral. Because, of course, there's some abusers, I imagine. Grandma's died 5 times, you know, maybe in a different environment, you know, as an excuse to get off of work. And so now employers are requiring proof that you were at the funerals. And it is just getting harder and harder, you know, for people to make it. I think that's part of the reason we see an increase in Saturday funerals, you know, for people that want everything in one day, because people generally aren't working. Some are, but more people may be available.
You even had on Sundays,
Even on Sundays sometimes, yeah.
You know, more than they did years ago, because they didn't have no funerals on Saturdays much.
Or maybe sometimes we've been having evening funerals to,
Yeah.
you know, to help accommodate that if everything needs to be in one day. But I would just, you know, one thing I'd encourage your viewers and people in the community to do is just set aside some time.
Sure.
You know, I think in our fast-paced society as a whole, we're never good at setting aside time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I remember when I was a kid, Dad's second cousins would come over and play cards
Oh, yeah.
darn near every weekend, and it'd be a big food dump and whatever. Now I hardly see my brothers and sisters, and they all live in the town.
Right. The times has changed.
Because we're really not taking time.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think we need to start taking more time, and
Yep.
it'd be nice if we could rewind a little bit more and spend more time with our loved ones
Right.
while they're here,
Right.
and carry that back into maybe spending a little more time together
Well, yeah.
when the time comes that the Lord calls them home. And
Yeah.
Because I think that really helps. I think that really helps with the transition too.
Oh, sure.
Because people, it's a big transition.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we just recently had a funeral in our family. It was last Palm Sunday that my grandma passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big adjustment period.
Oh, yeah, it sure is.
You know, you face that first holiday and grandma's favorite chair is empty.
Yeah.
And you think about going up to Huntington House to visit her and she's not there.
Yeah.
You know, you catch yourself going to pick up the phone and call grandma.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you pick up the phone, you can't do that.
No, you can't. I mean, you know, times really change that way. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like the ones that you really got along with the best and that, they're gone.
They are.
I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, gone but always there.
Always there. I mean, you know, like with me, I'm the last one. I don't know. But it's either between Dorothy and I, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, she was older than I was, about 21 years older, you know. But we always got along real good together. And that was, of course, it was about 3-4 years ago she passed on.
Sure.
You know, well, what are you going to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And up at Elkhorn, I got a cousin up there. He's going to be 92. I mean, you know, and you don't know how long they're going to be here either.
Right.
You know, I call him every Sunday night. I call him and talk to about 20 minutes to half an hour with him.
Yeah.
And he enjoys that. Oh, God, does he enjoy that? We talk about old times, you know, and what we did, what we didn't do.
Well, that's important.
I mean, you know, it is.
We're not having as much of that in our world today.
No, we're not.
We need to take time.
Yeah.
Talk about our lives. Talk about our lives to our kids,
Well, sure.
to our grandkids. Talked about things that we liked, experiences that we had,
Yeah. Yeah.
memories that we cherish.
Right.
Don't forget to tell people you love them,
Yeah.
because you don't have to be old to die. You know that as well as I do.
I know a lot of young ones.
Death doesn't know an age, or you don't have to be ill.
betcha.
So cherish time, cherish every moment,
Yeah.
and really hang on to that.
Oh, yeah. Well, times really change, you know. Well, not with only funerals or, you know, with their jobs or whatever. I mean, you know, there's a lot of changes that's been made, and there really ain't the jobs that used to be. And you know, it's the way it goes.
Yeah. Well, Vern, I think we're just about.
Right.
Have we used up our time here?
Well.
Okay,
We're
so we have used up our time.
We're kind of over, you know.
But
you're talking, you know, the time goes.
I really
you know.
appreciate you having me here to visit and letting me tell your viewers a little bit more about our funeral home and about myself.
Sure.
Always open to coming back.
Mm-hmm.
If you think there's something that you'd like to know more about, if you think there's something that your viewers would like to know about,
Yeah.
you know, whether it's more end-of-life planning or pre-planning, funerals or anything like that, I'd be happy to come in. There's so much information.
Oh, yeah.
We could sit here all day and visit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, talking, I mean, is my game, really. I can talk all day long.
But I do appreciate this opportunity, and for those that tuned in, thank you for listening to us. And again, glad you had us here.